You're tuned into Inside Lowell. Inside Lowell podcast brought to you in part by Washington Savings Bank, serving the greater Lowell community for over 130 years. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank.
WellPoint. Unicare is now WellPoint. New name, same commitment to Massachusetts. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point.
Boston North Company, offering a wide variety of business solutions to help restaurant and retail clients save money. Boston North. Mahoney Oil Company, providing warmth and protection to families in Greater Lowell and Southern New Hampshire since 1925. That's Mahoney Oil. Francis E. Preventia Insurance. For auto, home, business, and life, trust the agency Greater Lowell has counted on for more than 40 years. Francis E. Preventia Insurance. GoPuff, a grocery store right at your fingertips. Use the code Lowell20 to receive $20 off your first order of $21, plus free delivery. Download the GoPuff app or visit gopuff.com today. And by the Massachusetts Pirates, bringing all the hard-hitting action and excitement of arena football to the Tsonga Center in Lowell. Get your tickets today by visiting masspiratesfootball.com. And now, time for another Inside Lowell podcast. Inside Lowell. If Lowell is your home, this is your place.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another Inside Lowell podcast. I am your host, Teddy Panos, coming to you from the WellPoint Studios here in beautiful, historic downtown Lowell. Unicare is now WellPoint. New name, same commitment to Massachusetts. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. I want to thank our friends at WellPoint for helping to make this podcast, all of our podcasts, possible. And of course, I want to thank all of our sponsors here at Inside Lowell for helping to make all of Inside Lowell possible as well. And since we're in a thanking mood, let me thank my guest who's joining us here as well. Yeah. He is a Lowell City Councilor, but not just any city councilor. He is the Vice Mayor of the city, Paul Ratha Yem. Thank you, Paul, for joining us here in the studio. It's great to have you back here.
Yes, thank you, Ted. And I was honored. I'm honored to be here, and I'm happy to be here. So yes.
All right. Well, before we start, it's important you have to state your name and your address for the record before I can let you speak.
Well, we did that last night at the council meeting.
We are recording this on Wednesday morning, April 10th, the morning after a council meeting last night that got really interesting. But I want to talk about that because that's something that a lot of people are talking about and asking me my thoughts on. A speaker who has consistently showed up to speak at city council and school committee meetings. And over the last several months has consistently refused to give her address per the council bylaws and whatnot. She's been allowed to speak, but last night you guys said no. The Mayor Dan Rourke stepped in. A couple of your colleagues put in a motion to allow her to speak because councilors can't invite somebody as a point of personal privilege or whatever the reason is. And you guys voted that down by a 9-2 vote, and she ended up getting escorted out by police. Now, I'll tell you, I agree with that. But from a perception standpoint, when you have, I'm going to give you the devil's advocate argument. A private citizen shows up to speak in the House of the People, and you silence her, kick her out, and escort her out with police.
Let me do my
to respond.
Let me do my part. My name is Paul Ratha Yem, and I live at 98 Mount Vernon Street in Lowell, Massachusetts. Yes. It was unfortunate because the rule is that when you come to speak, you register or not, you give out your name and you address. It's for a reason. It's in the rule, and then we just want to be sure that you live in Lowell, that you speak about issue that pertaining to Lowell. I understand there's certain situation that's an exception. Even the Secretary of State creates some sort of like an address for battered women, or victim of domestic violence. In this situation, she could have just filed, an exception paper with the clerk when she registered to speak, say, look, I like to, this is the exemption. she based on, and then we would have no problem, because there are exceptions to tell you where you live because of the fear of whatever the reason. So give us that, and that will be, because everybody else who came up to speak at the council are required to do the same. Why you were special than the rest of the population.
Okay, so that was part of the discussion last night. It was being explained, and the woman did not want to go and register ahead of time or state the exemption ahead of time with the clerk.
Right.
I was just kind of curious, as part of that process, would she have to give her address to the city clerk as part of that to get the exception? Do you know how that process plays out?
I do not know exactly, but this is my own perception, is that you do need to tell the law department or the clerk, say, this is where I live. However, I do not want to make public of the address where I lived for this reason. So that exception and all of that will be private, will be in a file, will be no one knows, So, but you still give that because, as I mentioned earlier, you come up, you speak an issue that related to the city, and we want to make sure that you live in the city of Lowell.
Okay, and just to give the full background here for folks who may not be familiar with the history of the situation, the woman in question had filed an open meeting law violation against the council based on the tabling of motions of Councilor Robinson. Was what was done last night, or the efforts to force her to give her address, is that in any way
No.
taking account into her complaint and any kind of retribution, or you want to complain about us, we'll follow the rules and teach you something?
No, it's I can't speak for the rest of the councilor, but for me, it has nothing to do with anything. What happened is happened. Now this is the situation. But if you look at the history of the person who keep doing this for so many times and get away with this, and we finally say enough is enough. So we required everybody else to do the same. So we ask that you do the same. So to me, there's nothing to do with anything that happened in the past. So.
Okay, let's switch gears to some of the other things that happened at last night's meeting, and also things that you are working on in your district, the Acre district. First, as vice mayor, you're attending. You used to attend a ton of events.
Right.
Anyway,
Yes.
it's not.
Yes.
That's not a
Yes.
secret. But now as vice mayor, I don't think I've seen an event where you haven't been at that. It used to be thought of as kind of a throwaway role, right? The mayor's on vacation or not feeling well.
Right.
The vice mayor just chairs the meeting.
Right.
You've approached it in a way that's a little different, I think, from some of your predecessors.
Right. For me, it is an honor and a privilege, to represent the city at various events. When the mayor can't go, I'm more than happy to go, like many event, ribbon cuttings and stuff like that. So I love to. It's something that I really like a lot. I like people. I'm a people person, and on top of that, I try to keep up with Rita. So
Good luck keeping up with Councilor Mercier. A couple of the main discussions last night. One of them, the economic and downtown subcommittees that had their presentation made by Sal Napoli, the developer at the Hamilton Canal District. And what do you make personally of kind of what he said at that meeting and the change in the plans? Now, instead of developing 3 different parcels, there will be one building as part of all 3 parcels, and that building is now a wood structure, some type of first floor retail, I believe, and the rest market rate housing up above. What do you make of the new plan, and is that something you can support, or do you believe the council should kind of stick by the agreement that was signed?
My personal opinion is this, that I'm in the real estate business, and in real estate we have contracts, and the contracts stipulating certain performance by a certain day. So this 𝒂𝒊𝒐𝒔 company and the contract and agreement with the city, this is before my time. However, given the situation that the city staff, the city new administration now continue to negotiate, there's a lot of investment on the city part that we should really looking into more detail. And that's the reason why I stepped up and I step in and say, can we have this discussion in the executive session? So this way it will allow us to speak freely, to learn a lot more, because from listening to presentation by Sal 𝒂𝒊𝒐𝒔 at the subcommittee meeting, we have a lot of questions, and then those questions, it has to do with monetary, the tax credits, all of that, and we want the city director of DPD also tell us what was discussed all along since the previous administration until today. So we cannot do that in the public's forum. So that's why I made a motion to have this into the executive session, because all of us has many questions, including myself. However, we can't discuss it publicly. Therefore, we should really have an executive session. My personal opinion, I don't like it so much, but like I mentioned at the beginning, we invest so much time and effort in it that we should just look at it and then maybe make some tweak and some changes to move the project forward.
There's two schools of thought on this that I'm hearing. One is, hey, listen, with what UMass Lowell has just announced over with the Lowell Innovation Network Corridor, Lowell Inc., if the city hangs on, people are going to be coming on in and looking for places to develop and to build. The other school of thought is, listen, you cut ties with this developer, as it appears it is in the council's rights contractually to do. Now you have to start the process over again. You have to find another developer. They have to come up with their proposals and start to go through the approval process. And you're setting everything back for years. Is there one side or the other that you tend to lean towards?
That's my second thought that you talked about. We invest so much time, the city invests so much time, the staff time and everything in the project. We don't want to roll back and start everything from scratch. We don't like it. It's not 100%, but at least in the executive session, we can hammer out, all these differences and then come up with a proposal that the city then can go back to 𝒂𝒊𝒐𝒔 company and say, this is, as a councilor, we want to continue our relationship, but here's some changes that we think that needed.
Okay. There were two other issues last night that didn't get a lot of discussion last night, but they will, because now they're going to, I believe, a public hearing, and then eventually you folks will vote on them. The succession plan for elections in case somebody cannot complete a term, and the code of conduct / censure, reprimand, whatever it's being called. Let's start with the code of conduct thing first. What do you make personally of the proposal that has come out and the way it was written?
My colleague worked so hard to put it together, and then based on what we have, it's not perfect, but we want the public input. That's why we kind of kick back to public hearings and then all of that. So for me, that's all we have, and it really, it's not like you in a Congress that you can censor members and ban him or her from certain things, but city councilor, we don't have that mechanism. So there's not a whole lot of things you can do.
Okay. There were a couple of things that jumped out at me, and one of them was the discussion about what in there, conduct unbecoming, and you have to be respectful to people, and it included social media, and I can see a scenario where look, if somebody commits a crime and they're convicted of that crime, I get it, right? You have to have some kind of mechanism to deal with that as a body. However, if I go on social media and I say something that somebody else finds controversial, because I did that on radio and I do it here all the time, but
Yeah.
You may laugh at me and say, "Oh, that's just Teddy being Teddy," but somebody else may think that I'm being insulting to them. I'm being a bigot. I'm being a racist, and it could be something as simple as supporting a political candidate they don't like. Look, I've seen that, the language, as I understand it, allows a counselor to kind of be reprimanded based on something they post on social media that may or may not be offensive. You know, it might be offensive to some, but I would think freedom of speech covers a lot of this stuff. So are you concerned at all that this is going to get weaponized in the future and in a way that has nothing to do with an alleged criminal complaint?
I agree with your assessment. However, it has to be majority of the councillor voted to reprimand somebody who, you know, say some bad thing on social media. So
Hey, well, let me give you an example. A city councilor, Donald Trump, comes back to the Tsongas Center, and a city councilor goes back there. We had people criticizing that situation in 2015, 2016. Now, you know, 2024, now you're opening up a whole new, so you support an insurrectionist, you support this, you support that. I could see legislative bodies, councils, boards of selectmen that will reprimand people for posting something positive about that.
For me, I would not go in that direction, because I think there are two things that are protected by the U.S. Constitution, is that your freedom of speech and then your freedom of religion. You know, so those are the two that are really the foundation. So it is their belief associated with certain group and stuff like that. So it's their rights. So I think that's, to me, I will vote to, reprimand somebody because they go to some other political event or attend certain religious group, right?
Okay, well, good, one common sense vote, but I can envision a scenario where that plays out in the future. The second part was the succession plan for what happens if a counselor cannot complete their term. It looks like there's really no plan. There's a bunch of options.
I know.
And depending on the mood and the particular situation, you can either hold a special election. If we're within a certain time frame, you can either have the legislative bodies, in this case the council and or the school committee, vote to appoint somebody, or you can leave the seat vacant.
Yes.
Why three different options and not two? One that just says, okay, special election, we do it. If it falls within a certain time frame. If it falls outside the time frame, no election. That's just how it goes.
Right. Well, we all about options. So I believe that's option allow us to have flexibility to decide it, what need to be done based on situation, circumstances. So that's for me, it's perfect. It's a way to go. We don't want to just like, okay, left or right. There's no middle ground. So I want. I like that. I like that option. So
you sure you want to put yourself in the place of having to make a choice? And again, this is Wednesday, April 10th. I was listening to the radio WCAP this morning, and Jerry Nutter said, if there are two people who I consider my friends and I like vying for one of those open seats, now they're soliciting votes from the council and the school committee. If I have to pick one, I've made an enemy. A potential enemy out of the other, and that's a difficult situation. Are you sure you want to be in that spot potentially in the future?
I don't mind, because I'm elected to represent my constituents. So consensus from my district, case in point is ADU. My constituents say it is important for our district of minorities and have large families. So ADU would allow us to do something for our family. The same thing with this vote, the consensus of the district to agree to support someone or not support someone, so I would listen to that. And you make it, sometimes your decision is not popular. Yes, it's okay. That's what you elect to do. You're not going to please everyone, but at least you are representing the majority of your constituents, and you can sleep better at night. Like an ADU, I didn't win it, but that's okay. That's okay. At least the history will show that he's for the ADU, even though a lot of people are not. Same thing with the Smith Baker. Now the transition to the Smith
Aha,
Baker.
you took me right to where I wanted to go. Let me just remind people they're watching Inside Lowell. City Councilor, Vice Mayor Ratha Yem is joining us here in the WellPoint studios. And of course, the district you represent, District 7, the acre is right where that Smith Baker Center is located. Just the other day, a drone, April 7th, a drone video kind of footage of the roof and the condition of that roof was recorded, and it was sent to Inside Lowell. We've posted it on our website, on our YouTube channel, Facebook, so you can go there and check it out for yourself. But you also had sent me that video as well. What did you see, and does it give you hope that the building can be saved, or does it confirm what others have said, that you got to bring Miley Cyrus in with a wrecking ball and just take that thing down?
I'm in real estate, as I mentioned to you, so I deal with property. So I can tell the property from looking at it. I'm not a structural engineer, but in my experience as a real estate broker and investor myself, I can tell the building is not in a good shape, or it's not in a terrible shape. And when the Smith Baker, everybody keeps saying that, oh, there's beyond hope, is bring the wrecking ball tomorrow. And I always question, how do you base your opinion on? Do you have a structural engineering report, or have you done anything, to confirm that? Or you just saying because everybody else keeps saying, like when I was young, when my kids were younger, we watched this the movie, the chicken that ran through the town and say, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. Chicken Little, right? Chicken Little, yeah. And then that's the one thing that I always, want to confirm before I say something, and I want to have a facts to back up what I say, and that's what, for me, also looking at interior pictures from 2019 when CBA was planning to redevelop that building, and I noticed there's a lot of the inside are really nice and everything, and yes, there are some damages from the wind, from the water, because it's a drone picture show that somebody's opened up the latch on the roof, and the water come through many years, right? I don't know when it was open.
Okay, so that's one of the questions I had. When was that left open? So how many years has snow and rain been getting freely through that roof?
At least according to John Chu from CBA 2019, when they were looking inside, take picture, the hatch is already open and the roof.
So at least 5 years worth of elements getting in there, snow and rain, or whatever.
Yes, and I've been in the building in the 80s when the Governor Dukakis Commission on Refugee came to listen to all various service provider in law about Southeast Asian refugee. The meeting was held at the Smith Baker. In 97, I believe, Governor Bill Well came to talk about refugee and the programs that he instituted. I was there as a translator for Governor Bill Well at the time. And I remember so clearly, stand on stage, you have these seating, and then you have the full balcony to my left. You see the stained glass, windows, the sun came through and all of that. So, and I thought it's really a beautiful building. I mentioned earlier that I represent, I'm in real estate, I represent bank. And bank owns property. When bank own property, my job is to secure the building. So I would get the contractor to come, and the roofer come and give us an estimate to cover it. If we can't really do the full roof, at least we cover with the top so that it would preserve the building. And this is the thing that bothers me. Why can't the city just at least preserve it? You don't have to develop now, so at least you reduce the deterioration of the building, that down the road somebody else might come along and say, hey, we would like to purchase and renovate the building.
So we've learned about that whole, and one of the things we learned was that was done intentionally.
Right.
It wasn't an accident. It was left open intentionally, and the point was to let the building breathe.
Yes.
Now, I'm not an engineer or a contractor or anything like that. I only play one on podcasts. It doesn't make sense. I opened the windows the other day, the first nice day, Monday, to get some fresh air and get it into the house. And then I closed the windows, and I'm certainly not going to leave them open.
Right.
But I also don't want to assume, incompetence that they would just leave it open for 5 years minimum. Is there a logical, have you heard a logical reason or explanation for why for 5 years now that thing has just been left open in the New England
What?
element?
Weather? Yeah, weather. And when you ask that question, there's always conspiracy theories out there. The conspiracy theories that are they doing intentionally so the building would then, collapse and demolish, because the city of Lowell has that history of demolishing really beautiful building. I remember so clearly the school on Gorham Street now is auto part, and dollar store. I don't know, Lincoln School or something like that. Yeah. And I still have picture this day. I remember they knock it down, things like that. And then that's a conspiracy theory. People say someone must have won that piece of land right next to the city, put up a 7-story high of, apartment or whatever, right? So that's a conspiracy theory. And that's a good question. Why would somebody do that? Like I mentioned earlier, in a real estate business, the bank owned and the bank wants to secure the building so it would not be going to the point of really destroying the place. So someone come along, they want to buy it, so it has a value, less damage to the properties.
I love a good conspiracy theory, so I'm not going to discount that. But if you leave it open long enough, it'll get damaged to the point where now we can just tear it down,
exactly,
and build something.
Right.
Would you be against a group if a group came forward now and said, yeah, we're interested, but we need to tear it down. We'll try to save as much of the facade as possible, but ultimately we have to start from scratch. Would you be against that? Are you one of these people that wants to preserve it in every way, shape, and form to its existing exterior?
You have to show me the fact first that this building cannot be saved. Show me the structural report, the structural engineering report, saying that these are really at risk. And that's why I filed the motion to have the structural engineering report first. Even though we go down the path of knocking it down, we make sure that it's safe for all the staff, all the workers that go in to salvage some of the interior furnitures and everything before it got knocked down. And if it come down to that, yes, I can sleep at night, but at least I want to see that we have some structural engineering report done and show us like how bad is bad, So
you've been very active in that neighborhood forever. You've done developments in that neighborhood and all over the state, for that matter. This is a very public project, and it has been for many years. Things fell through on the CBA plans for whatever reason, but it's not a secret that there are people who want a developer for this building. My question is, if somebody was going to come forward with a plan that could work, wouldn't they have already done so? What makes you confident that somebody's, regardless of what that structural report finds, what makes you confident that someone's going to come forward and say, yeah, I'll invest my money, maybe you'll have to give me tax credits, whatever, get some public money or whatever, but I can make this work. Do you believe that's possible?
It's possible. This is 2024, and things happen in the city of Lowell positively. We have the new manager, administration, open mind, the want to develop, make city a place to raise children and live. And you can see that. And the announcement of UMass Lowell Link, it's also a catalyst to kind of put the city back on the map, that developer may look at it. So the developer who be developing the East Campus, that area, would eventually maybe saying, wow, guys, that's a beautiful building. But But this is a situation, and that's the reason why I mentioned earlier, the city should have done to preserve the building so it would not deteriorate by the elements, things like, because down the road, someone might come along and say, we want to save this. And as a result of what's going on, the discussion and everything, now there's a new group that forming to preserve the Smith Bakers. So.
Oh, okay. Does that group have a concept, a plan in mind?
Yes.
They do?
Yeah, do.
Okay. How quickly do you believe everything can be brought together? Because the other side is there's some folks saying, look, there's slate tiles falling down, whatever is falling off the building, and they're a public risk. They've blocked parking meters up in the front there. So they're not allowing cars to park in certain areas, but the sidewalks aren't closed, which doesn't make much sense to me.
Right. They tell you that the building is not collapsing. The sky's not falling. If anyone who watched the podcast today and they have a chance to look at the drone video of the roof, please do so. It's all intact, beautiful, compared to the slate roof in my garage, like all jigags and all jagged all over, right? But this is really in a good part. So if you're standing, the drone video showing where the City Hall, the Polo Library, and you look at to the left, that section small, a few tile missing. That's a tile that fall into the side of the street where the parking meters was covered up, right? And the reason they should have blocked the sidewalk because the building's not a collapse. Okay, a few months ago, we have the mill building on the walkway, the brick all collapsed, right? Nobody called them to knock that down. But everybody said, oh, we're working on it, we're fixing it. Why don't all these councilors who oppose, saving the Smith Baker make a motion to knock it down because it fall down to the Riverwalk, right? Mm-hmm. Luckily, no one around it that get hurt. And they try to contrast that with the Smith Baker. No, two different things. Take a look at the drone video on the roof. So our next plan is that we want to have access inside, and we're gonna do the drone video or really video of the inside. Yes, there are damage because of the hatch that was left open for the last 5 years. Who knows? Probably way before that, 2019, right?
All right. So no one's ever going to call Councilor Paul Ratha Yem Chicken Little because the sky is not falling even around the Smith Baker Center.
Yes.
And the drone footage that Councilor Yem references, again, is on InsideLowell, InsideLowell.com. You can see it on our YouTube channel, Facebook, Twitter. Right. We've posted it everywhere. Right. All right. Housing.
Yes.
A lot of good things happening. You are now, less than a month away. I think by the end of this month, they're going to cut the ribbon at Acre Crossing.
Acre Crossing.
That's a really exciting project, by the way. And by the way, it happened really quickly from when they started digging those holes out there.
Exactly. It happened really quickly. And I had an opportunity and privilege to have a tour of it. If you have a chance, maybe, do some video tour.
I would love to see it.
Yeah.
Love to see it.
The part that I like the most, the corner where Cabot and Merrimack Street, the unit there is a corner. It's great view. And there's a lot of lights coming in, and it will be 32-unit home ownership. And that's what myself and our councilor and city administration push for, is the home ownership to create generational wealth, And then after finish that, they are working on the next phase at the next is called Suffolk Place. Mm-hmm. There will be another 35 units of home ownership, the corner of Suffolk and Market Street. And the city also respond to my motion about the mass grant to do the street around that Acre Crossing. It's going to be beautiful. And then on top of that, we have the food bank headquarters, 733, 735 Broadway Street. Mm-hmm. That's going to be 52, 53 units, all rental, but is going to generating a lot of energies for that area. And my hope is that from Walker Street on Broadway, the road will be paved, will be really beautiful, because from that Walker Street four-way stop Broadway all the way to School Street, the road is horrendous. It's really bad.
And as Yoon Ju Choi from the CBA told us when she was here, they just purchased a building thanks to a very generous $1 million grant that they won, and they've got more housing planned there. Again, that is right in your district.
Yes.
How many new units are coming into that neighborhood?
So if we add CBA 25 units, 555 Merrimack Street, and then you add 32 unit of Acre Crossing, and then Suffolk Place 35, and then you add the Broadway Food Bank now 53 on top of that. So you talked about over 100 housing unit will be come online in the city, particularly in the acres. But with that said, I'm excited about the housing piece, but I'm concerned about the heat island, because as you can see from on Market Street and turn to Salem Street, Cabot Street, all the way to the river, to UMass Lowell, that's all public housing. It's all cement and concrete. That's creating a lot of heat. And my intention is to work with the Lowell Housing Authority, to work with the UMass Lowell in the city to create some shade, and maybe to changing some of the sidewalk to a more reduced kind of heat for the resident who live there. The resident who live on that Salem Street, they go to North Common for children the summertime, and the Merklin School behind that Merklin School. But still, you have all these concrete buildings. We need to plant trees, and then we need to put some solar panel and things like that to generating the electricity. You know.
All right, so look, I'm very pro development, and and that neighborhood is crowded anyway. And you know, there's some neighborhoods that are more rural, some towns that are certainly more rural and open space. But the Acre is a place that you know screams development and lots of people living in small areas. But are you concerned that many new units with traffic and parking concerns? Are you concerned that that's going to make your neighborhood too busy?
Well, that's what happened is that a growing city. I read a report not too long ago. It's about this. It's saying that this is like that 62% of the city will become urbanized because people come and to live here. And like I said, in real estate, we see a lot of people who migrate from the greater Boston area. And then Lowell is perfect place because of MBTA, the train. People come and purchase two-family home and stuff like that they say they can't even afford in Everett, in Revere, you know, in Malden or Bedford. So Lowell is still affordable. But for us to live in Lowell, we say, oh, the building is the property is too expensive, the rent is too high. But the people who migrate from the greater Boston come to say Lowell is still affordable and stuff like that. Yes, I do. I'm concerned about the congestion. So that's why everything that we do, part of the Lowell Forward planning, master plan, that we really need to take into consideration and all of that. And that's why I put a motion and push for the idea of the smart city smart city concept. So if our listener want to find out, Google the word smart cities, and there are concepts that you can implement to make it a really nice street, smart street, and things like that. So that will help, you know, diversify to eliminate some of the congestion. Smart traffic lights, all of that. So smart city component has all of that generating all of this to moving people without causing all that problem.
All right. We'll let the viewers talk about smart cities. We certainly are a growing city, though, between all these projects that you talked about in the Acre, the effort to save Smith-Baker, UMass Lowell's work, Hamilton Canal. Lots of good stuff to talk about. You're going to be a very busy council, sir.
One more before I finish. The city of Lowell talked about producing more housing. Part of the Lowell Forward is 800 in the next by 2040, right? So that means 50 new unit, affordable unit is online every year to the next 16 years, right? So the city does their part by reducing the zoning changes, like downtown DMU, downtown mixed use, reduce the zoning for development a certain number, 12, 16 unit, no need for parking on site. And then now we have MBTA zoning. The city will already put in application that is due by December of 2024, and that's along the way, and that will provide additional funding, additional development of housing that around that MBTA station area. So this is exciting time for the city of Lowell, and for me as a councilor representing my district.
I am sure it is. Lowell City Councilor, Vice Mayor Paul Ratha Yem, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you
Looking forward
for
to having you
having me.
back in soon, okay?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you to the Vice Mayor. And thank you as well for joining us here on this Inside Lowell podcast. Inside Lowell. If Lowell is your home, this is your place. Until next time, stay safe, everybody.